Well, glass was made to be broken, really. So we're just fulfilling its destinies.
Okay, let's go.
Cheers,
That's fun to
guys.
drink. Awesome. So let's talk about you guys too, man. Let's talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, how in the hell did you start playing music together? And how long ago was this? And what was the whole purpose and why? Like,
Okay, what's the origin story?
We all probably
Okay.
have our own version of exactly how the events went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I know is I was coming out of COVID and doing my own guitar work. And then I got this call from this random dude that said he played bass with me before. Said he was putting something together.
He's
And
all,
I was like, I don't know.
Who are you? How do I know you?
Exactly. It's like I played with you at that one spot. Remember? I'm like,
That's awesome.
and then I suppose I just agreed to it because I was like tired of just playing guitar and I wanted to get back on the drums.
Yeah, Blaze wanted to jam. He wanted to get us together to jam, huh? To just
Mhm.
get together and just like jam and do something, just try something out together. Yeah, and we were all down, I think, because I know I was thirsty for rocking out with a band because of COVID, couldn't do that for a while. So I originally was in a different band with Blaze before COVID called the Doctors of Groove. And we just started playing a gig. We played like one gig at an Elks Lodge in Southern California. And then COVID hit, and then we pretty much just disbanded after that. And then several years later, towards the end of COVID, Blaze hit me up and asked if I wanted to jam with him and another drummer that he said was really good. And I was like, hells yeah, I am down. I was so thirsty to play music with people again because COVID, nixed that for a while,
but you're gonna say that's one hell of a coincidence because you're so freaking special, so freaking unique. The way you guys just love each other, and know each other, and
Thanks, Kat. Yeah, it's like we very early on, right at the get-go, had good chemistry. We all have respect for each other, and we all like love the same music, and styles of music. So it was easy to just start playing with these guys. And yeah, I think when we play together, there's no judgment. There's no like, power trips or egos. We all just play because we love it and we love, music and sharing that with people. And
Right.
I think since we all kind of have similar kind of musical goals, we're all coming from a similar place as to why we do it. I think that allows us to respect each other and just have fun. Yeah, and not, let any bullshit get in the way.
So there was a band called High Minded, and I think Ryan was the drummer for them for a while. And one of the
Yep.
guys in that band was Kirk, or Captain Kirk as he calls himself. And he was
Oh,
super cool, and he had just left that band, and I met him at like a jam session with a surfer buddy of mine. And then he wanted to start a band, so then we started the Doctors of Groove. Ryan couldn't join us. We actually went over to Ryan's place in Carlsbad on Tamarack, me and Captain Kirk, and the three of us jammed, and it was super fun. But I think
Wow.
Ryan was headed down to Mexico to surf and hang out down in Baja. I think he was in the band
Nice.
already, so he told us no. But that was like 5 years previous.
he's all, I'll get back to you. I gotta
Yeah,
go surf in
so
Mexico.
I started the Doctors of Groove with Kirk and this other drummer I knew. And when Kirk left, that drummer introduced me to Grant, and Grant came in and joined that band as the new lead singer. And then COVID hit. So then I called Ryan, and he's all, "What? Who are you?"
Wow, that's
And then-
crazy, man. We're all
What?
entangled into the
There's
same
time
thread of
between
time.
now and then.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but once we got together, it was just like, oh my gosh, this sounds good. And then I said to the guys, and I told Grant, the previous band was like 6 guys in the band. It was hard to like agree to do anything. It was hard to agree on the songs or the kind of music or whatever. And Grant and I couldn't do the songs we really wanted to do with that band. So then we said,
I remember
okay,
that.
let's do songs we really want to do, right? And let's make sure all three of us agree on all the songs, and let's put a rule in effect that anybody can veto any song they don't want to play. Because you want to play songs you like, that you're going to give it your all, that you're going to be stoked on. And with that rule, we went through hundreds of songs to come up with like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 songs. Right?
Yeah. That all three of us genuinely loved and wanted to play.
I remember coming up with lists, like he said, of 100, 150 songs every 3 days, and they'd be selecting a few of them, and then
we would
what
talk
started
about
as
it for
just
long periods of time, and we would
we
come
all
to
got
some
we
conclusions.
like to do that one. It turned into this whole thing that we called veto power, where we all have to agree, or we're not going to do the song. And we still have had some interesting relationships about the veto power thing, because they can convince me very easily to do stuff that they want to do, but it started as something that we all had to agree on.
So here's another thing that happened. I vetoed a song, and later on I found out it was Grant's favorite song of all time. And he was bummed.
Just What I Needed by the Cars.
Yeah, so then I said, nobody said you can't unveto a song. Just because you vetoed it doesn't mean you don't can't unveto it. You can go back
also
and
have the power of
anything.
unveto. Yeah.
Right. You got a power of unveto. So
You can have a change of heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I just unvetoed it, and it turned out all the people that came out to see us always liked that song. They like to dance to that song. It's just a popular song for people.
It always
and
murders.
It kind of grew on me like fungus, and I'm good with it.
It's one of our only 80s songs that we play every show, because it is just one of those bell ringers that everybody knows.
Right? That we like pretty much do every show. Almost every
But we love each other so much.
Everyone loves that fucking song, right? As do I, and that's probably that song. It might be number one for me of all time.
That's not why I unvetoed it. I unvetoed it because we all love each other, all three of us, a lot, and we want to make sure all three of us are happy. And if you're missing some of the songs you want to play, that might bum you out too, right? So.
True.
And that's why we give Ryan some songs sometimes that are maybe, he really like to rock out to and sing to, and they're not the dance songs that the crowd might want, like one of them.
Sure.
You guys might not have been super interested in Crosstown Traffic, but now we've been doing that one religiously too, and that's a crowd favorite.
People like that one.
It is.
But Francis Farmer from Nirvana is like a B-side. It's obscure. Nobody knows it, but it's rocking.
Little deep cut right there.
Deep cut. And so we throw it in there once in a while just because Ryan really wants to like bang on the drums and sing and rock out.
Yeah, rock.
And it recharges the batteries every couple of shows.
I think we all love the same styles. I'd say that we are all very much in alignment with the styles that we all enjoy musically.
It's definitely like a punk style, and I love it so much. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is the direction they went.
I'm a full classic rock guy, but then I grew up in surf punk, and so the first few times when I introduced doing some punk music, it wasn't super receptive with these guys. But then we went to the NoFX show, and all of a sudden now we're doing more Bad Religion, and the punk stuff has become sort of our homage to what we all agree upon.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that I didn't know if we were ever going to get to, because I thought we were just going to be a 60s to 90s cover band. But now it seems like the punk stuff is our MO at this point. We had intended to do original music at some point. We just didn't know when it was going to be necessary. When Blaze booked the Whiskey gig, we kind of had a timeline of when we needed to start writing, because we wanted to do original music for that big gig.
Yeah.
When his first idea came up for Bangtown, it was laughable and funny and unique, and it was raunchy and funky.
It was fun.
And it felt like everything that we had wanted to do, and the cover songs couldn't allow us to do, because it was just us putting our energy into something that we really believed in instead of doing other songs. So part of the whole evolution from covers to originals was just us being able to have our own voice.
The whiskey, hello. What even, like, you just wake up one day and you decide to reach out? Like, what brought that on? Like, how in the hell did you get that, first of all? And what started all of that? What took you there?
So, I saw a movie called CBGB, and the guy who was Professor Snape was the main actor in there. Professor Snape from Harry Potter. And he played the part. Yeah, he's a good actor. He played the part of the owner of CBGB, and they showed a pretty accurate history of the whole thing, of like the Ramones going through there, getting, you know, their start there. Blondie getting their start there. A lot of bands like Lou Reed went through there. The Police went through there. Gosh, all these really amazing bands went through there. And then I studied it, and I saw that in 2006, that iconic place shut down because the guy passed away, and it didn't really keep going. Like, his family didn't keep it going or anything. And then that's on the East Coast. What do we have on this coast? On the West Coast, we've got the Whiskey A Go-Go, which is just an iconic place, very similar to CBGB. And those two places, in my mind, were the two iconic places to ever want to play at. And so I told these guys, look, the Sunset Strip's changing because I've got friends there. And they said, you know, the House of Blues closed. Now it's a high-rise condo complex now. And Viper Room might close someday. The rest of them might close. So we need to get our butts in there and play. And just to be able to be one of the bands who got to play there. So I contacted them. They offered us some nights and stuff to play. But Ryan was in school getting a teaching credential from San Diego State, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't do those during the school year. So I kind of pushed it back as long as I could. And then once he got his teaching credential a few months ago, then it was all good to go for us. But then I booked it for July 7th. That gave us very little time to come up with originals. We only had one original, Bangtown. So then we had to write a bunch, and my goal was to have all 8 songs be originals. But we ran out of rehearsal time. We ran out of time. So then we did 5 that we had, plus 3 covers. And 3 out of the 5 songs we played, we'd never played anywhere before. That was the first time I ever played the premiere of those 3 songs. We're at the Whiskey Go-Go, and usually what you want to do is have them down, having played them at a bunch of places like your usual places that you play at. And then
these were brand spanking new.
So it was a tall order for all of us to be able to pull it off. And I think we pulled it off. And
what I remember was that it was like we had something like 3 weeks left, and we had only 2 originals at that moment, and we were starting to write well together, so we knew we could do it. So we started to get into the studio at Blazes almost every other day, just to try to come up with the originals that we needed. We practiced whenever we could. Right? we got as many as we could in that time without sacrificing the quality. And some of the stuff that we came up with was far better than we had anticipated. And so when Blaze really pushed it on us to play at the Whiskey, I was originally kind of like, well, it's in LA, are we ready? We don't need to, we don't have the songs. And he's like, no, it's gonna be incentive to write the songs. And so kind of it lit a fire under our asses to actually get something done and to create original music, which maybe
absolutely
deadlines. I certainly do. I want to know that, like, I need something productive here. Otherwise, I can just go play drums on another cover track and, you know, learn the song. But when it's something original, then, you know, you're putting your heart into it. So having that deadline of the Whiskey and coming up with those originals together was one of the coolest moments that we've had as the band, because we were just so locked in and playing as much as possible.
Yep, absolutely. It definitely lit a fire under our asses for sure.
One of the songs was a tribute song to the Whiskey A Go-Go. And Ryan and I were talking on the phone, coming up with funny lyrics and stuff about taking a bus ride up with a bunch of our friends, you know, up the 5 to the Sunset Strip. And so we put it together. And I think that was the last song. It was the last song that we finally put together 2 nights before the show. And it was like we didn't hardly rehearse that song at all.
Yeah, we had just finished writing it.
And that was like the big song where we started playing it on stage and the go-go dancers started walking in and down to start dancing. It was like the big opening of the show for us. It was really cool.
You know you're going to get a good show, but it's the human element that makes a good live show. It was still one of the best nights of my life, though. Like, I've never played the Whiskey before, and it actually turned out into an event that I didn't realize was going to be so memorable.
It really was.
We wrote a song about something that we actually did. It became like this manifestation that we thought of in our heads, and now we can actually manifest anything and we can accomplish it. Like, it actually happened the way that we thought about it. And I think that's the weird part about everything, and especially in music, is that you can never really put your finger on it because it's such a fleeting moment, and you can never grasp art. But
right. It just
when you
kind of
project
comes when it comes.
really work on it together with amazing people, you can accomplish anything because.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to write original songs with these guys and perform them definitely makes me now feel like I'm in a real band, like a legitimate rock and roll band, whereas before we just did covers. So it definitely leveled us up as a band, and I'm so proud of that and so excited for like what we're gonna do next.
So what is next? What are your plans next?
Ooh, good question.
Well, I think that we're going to continue to write original music. I think now that we've cut our teeth a little bit and realized that we have a good dynamic in writing, I want to start, venturing out into experimenting more with what we can come up with. I think that all of us have so much to offer musically that there's no limits to what we can actually do as a 3-piece band. We've come up with a lot of sound, and with the diversity of the music that we've come up with for our first 5 songs, I think that we're going to be able to really do something special for everything that we come up with after. I'm excited for what we keep coming up with, because every time we get together in a writing session, we come up with something cool. But it's way more fun to work on original music because that's something that we will carry with us and that we are all a part of creating together. I think that original music is my passion, and these guys are obviously the most amazing people to work with. So I can't describe how stoked I am to see what's going to happen in the future. One of those last songs that we came up with, Legs, is so funny and so poppy and so raunchy and punky that it mimics Bangtown, and the stuff that we're coming up with. People are actually responding better to our original music on stage than our cover songs at this point. So that's a cool omen.
As far as instruments go, obviously, we kind of touched on this, I guess. Not really. Blaze the bassist, we got the guitarist, singers, vocals, blah blah blah, and the drummer, blah blah blah. So how I made that sound so horrible, please actually tell me what you do and what you play and why.
Okay. I guess I'll go first. I'm Grant. Howdy. And I play guitar and I sing. And for one song, I play harmonica. And
he does way more than that. This guy can memorize 1 million songs. I don't know how his brain works this well, but he has all the lyrics down.
What kind of guitar do you play?
Well, I play. This is my Flying V, and this is what I play on the most. And this is my baby for sure.
That's a Gibson? What year is that Gibson?
Gibson Flying V. It was early 2000s. Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
People a lot of times ask me, like, is that from the 60s? They all think it's really vintage.
Yeah, people think it's vintage because it's a little beat up and like scuffed because I've used it for many years. I teach lessons with it. I also teach guitar lessons to folks. But yeah, so this is the axe. I grew up singing my whole life. Way back, I remember my mom taking me to church, and I remember being captivated by the choir, and that's all I was focused on, was just the musicians singing and playing music. So that's kind of how I started singing and playing guitar. Really was through like church bands growing up. Once I was old enough to sing or play guitar, I volunteered for the church choir or church band, and then after that, just kept doing music stuff whenever I could. In middle school, high school, marching band, all that shit. I played saxophone, marching band. When I went to high school, I started doing musical theater and learned how to play guitar. And I started my first punk band in high school. Always been in bands ever since, in a punk band or a rock band. Yeah, and then I went to college for vocals at UNLV, and that's where I was classically trained as a vocalist in the Italian bel canto style of classical music. And then, but I was still in punk bands the whole fucking time, and playing in rock and roll music with a rock band was always my passion. I just went to college to learn how to sing. Honestly, I just wanted to learn how to sing better. So my parents wanted me to go to college, so I was like, all right, I'm going to study voice. And they were super supportive, which I'm super thankful for. So did that, and then just been in a bunch of bands since. And yeah, and then started a band with these guys, and this is one of the best bands I've ever been in, if not the best.
How many instruments do you know how to play?
That shit doesn't suck.
Oh boy, vocals, guitar, bass, ukulele, harmonica, drums, piano. That's about it. Those are the main ones, but I like other obscure instruments as well. Oh, I forgot to include kazoo. I'm really good at kazoo.
Ryan, what do you
Yes.
got? Tell us your music story.
All right. I started playing piano when I was about 4. I was in the advanced band of trumpet by 7. When I went into the jazz band as a trumpeter, I saw the drummer and I said, that's what I want to do. I had my first drum set when I was 8 years old, and I never looked back. I was in my first band around 14 or 15. We did blues, punk, and surf music. Then I was in some indie rock bands, then some punk bands, and some heavy metal bands. And then I took a hiatus and went to Northern California and wrote my own music on guitar and started singing and playing on my own for a while until Blaze called me to come back to the drums.
Yeah, drumming wise, did you build your own? Have you been putting together your kit for a long time? Or is that,
I really looked up to Neil Peart, John Bonham, and Mitch Mitchell back in the day. They were my trilogy, as I called it. And I wanted a real big drum kit when I was young. And then after I got back into drumming about when Blaze was getting a hold of me, I took some jazz lessons from Duncan Moore, the best jazz player in San Diego. And after a few jazz lessons, I realized that I need to downsize my kit and just upgrade my ability. So I really took away a lot of the drums that I used to have as like a huge rock arena drummer kind of drum kit guy, and then I just downsized everything into everything that I actually needed. Because when you focus on less, you can do more with what you have.
And last but not least, then, okay, what's your music story?
What's your origin story?
I'm a music listener, man. That's what I do. Ever since I was a little kid, I always listened to music. Rock and roll, pop music, reggae music, punk music. Then the grunge really took me. And I went and saw in Del Mar at the racetrack. I snuck in because I didn't have any money. I was a starving college student. And I saw a bunch of people run in, and then all the yellow jacket security people running after them. And I just kind of strolled in behind the last Yellow Jacket security guard. And I went in there and I got to see Pearl Jam open up for Nirvana, open up for the Chili Peppers in '91.
Wow. Damn.
And
Damn.
that was when I just started playing music. Prior to that, I was always appreciating music. And I took some music theory classes when I was a kid. But then, I didn't really use it, so I forgot all about that. But in college, we had a house in Del Mar, because I went to UCSD close by there. And the house in the living room, we had 2 double-stacked bass amplifiers, Yamaha guitar amp, drum kit, keyboards,
All
all
right.
the instruments set up. So it was like, all of a sudden I started picking up instruments and just playing them. And that was 1990 is when I started playing music.
Nice.
And right after that was the Chili Peppers concert with Nirvana, and I want to play that. So then I started really playing like please kind of stuff on the bass, and I really liked the bass and the boom boom noise better than any other noise there was. So
He gravitated towards those low frequencies.
I don't want to play drums. I don't want keyboards anywhere near me. I want the bass.
You like that bass?
So then I just started playing bass, and what was easy to learn was the reggae beats, and I really was into like Black Uhuru, Lion Robbie, Steel Pulse, Bob Marley. That was easy stuff to learn on. And then I was really into The Cure, or Jane's Addiction and Nirvana and things like that, and I play along to the music and just learn it by ear, And then the house band, we had the house band, the roommates all played. I had a drummer roommate, I had a guitarist roommate, and then
Those are good roommates to have.
that was the other thing. Nobody wanted to play the bass, so by default, I was the bass player because they all wanted to play their other instruments.
It was a win-win. You're like, yeah. You're like, I love bass. Let's do this.
You know what else? There's always a demand and a need for a bass player because no one wants to play it, right? We're the least number.
The least desired rock instrument to play.
Yeah, there's high
That's
demand
funny.
for bass players and low numbers of bass players, so we always got a job.
Yeah.
Bass might be the most underappreciated piece of equipment in a 3-piece band, but it's the most necessary. If you listen to any music and you pick out a certain bass line that you like, or any piece of music, it's not possible without the rhythm section and the underlying structure from the bass.
So what is your bass, Blaze? What is your bass, Blaze?
I learned on a Squire. I learned on a Squire jazz bass. That was the instrument at the house, and then later on, I got me a Fender Japanese-made jazz bass special. So it had the jazz bass pickup and the P bass pickup. It was kind of like, it was made in Japan. It was really like too
It's the
clean.
Japanese part.
It was really clean, technologically clean. It didn't have the raw sound that I wanted. It was just too clean. It was good for playing regular straight up bass.
Not enough beef in it.
But it sounded like a keyboard to me. It sounded like a keyboard, clean keyboard or something.
Interesting.
Like playing the low end of the keyboard.
Yeah.
So I traded that in.
That's exactly what you're talking about. That's a very good way to describe that.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
So I
can imagine
traded.
that.
I went to Moonlight Music in Encinitas, in my hometown, and I traded it in for a Fender Precision bass made in Mexico. And it was raw, and you could really get some noise out of that, and it was really cool. And then I wanted to reproduce that sound, but with a custom bass. So then now I also have a second bass, which is a Fender Players Series Precision bass. And but I had a custom done with high-end pickups, P-bass pickups, and
Seymour Duncan pickups?
yeah, Seymour Duncan's, yep. And then I also
Those are good
had
pickups.
I also
And
had
Oh,
it's
they're
also
very
painted
strong.
black.
It's really the visual.
Yeah, I had it painted
And they're
black.
pretty.
And then I put this simulated carbon fiber pick guard on it, and I changed all the metal hardware to this black metal hardware, like Goto tuning screws.
Yeah.
And
It's like that
even
show
the
Pimp My Ride, but he pimped out his bass.
I
It's a
pimped my
pimped out bass. All
Yeah.
black on black on black. Super dope, and it sounds amazing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like everything's black.
What do you think is the part of the string that's red? Like, what's...
Oh, I've always used Roto Sound bass strings, and they always come with some red thread on the string itself, where it meets up with the tuning screws. That's always, since day one, I've always used those because they sound the best to me. And then so I put those on this thing, and then I put the tube amps red logo like this on the head stock where Fender logo would have been, because it got painted over. So now it's all red on
Yeah.
red with and carbon fiber. So it looks cool.
So where did actually you come up with your name? Where did you actually come up with your name?
That's a fun question.
Yes.
Blaze and I were brainstorming super hard while Grant was like jamming super hard in the room at my house.
Yep. It was a rehearsal day. We're rehearsing songs. That was before we ever got a gig in the first place.
Yeah, it was early.
And then
I was
we're
just trying
thinking,
not to
we gotta
embarrass
have a
myself.
name. We gotta come up with a name. So Ryan and I went outside and we were just talking surf, and then bouncing ideas off each other. And then
And
we're all,
music
what do we
ideas.
like? It's like, what do we
Mhm.
like? We like surfing.
We like music and surfing.
Yeah.
So what can we come up with that incorporates music and surfing?
We like barrels, getting in the barrels, surfing.
We like
lines.
vintage guitar equipment.
We like, yeah. We like tube amps, amplifiers that are tube amps. We're all tube amplifiers, getting in the tube, getting barreled and whatever.
Getting amped.
Okay. We're amped about what we're doing.
You're amped about your tube experience.
We're amped about surfing. We're amped about this band and the music we're playing. So we're tube amped. And apostrophe. With an apostrophe in there. And
Tube
Ryan's all,
amped.
okay, that sounds all right.
It was fun because we had like 20 other choices that we'd come up with. And that one just stuck. When we said it, we both just looked at each other and laughed, and we're like, that's so it. It doesn't matter what we come up with next. We're going with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
And when they told me about it, I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, that's kind of that's cool. I like it.
I think you probably liked it because of the vintage guitar aspect
Yeah.
of it.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if the surfing aspect was something you responded to, but I think
Yeah.
you kind of still feel like that's cool that the Southern
Mm.
California vibe has a surfing vibe and, you know, classic
Yeah.
rock vibe of
Oh,
the
yeah, of
stuff
course.
that we were doing at the time.
There's
Let's
one more
do
thing
it.
about the name tube amp that we forgot to mention, Ryan.
What?
It's the fact that when we got together, the three of us, Grant came over with a tube amplifier that he was really stoked on. He owns this cool
Yeah.
tube amp.
I am my Blues Junior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when Grant came over, he saw Ryan's tube amplifier, and this thing's a work of art. It's a beautiful Fender Deluxe vintage looking thing.
Real deal.
Real loud and amazing. So Grant's all, oh, this is nice. Can I use this thing? So he started using it all the time. Then he's all, can I borrow it? And Ryan's all, sure, I'm not playing guitar much anymore. I'm all doing drums, back to drums again with the band. So then Grant takes the thing, and it was a great heist. It was a heist. And Grant ran off with his Fender Deluxe, and he's been using it ever since.
Yeah. Well,
It is kind of funny because he stole my amp, and it was the tube amp, and that's what our band is named after.
Well,
the amp is the best amp of all time, really.
It's our mascot, Cat. This
It
is
is.
our like true mascot. My tube amp that
It
Grant
defines our
commandeered
sound. Yeah,
is
it is our sound.
is what we
It's
play
our
with
it's our
on
guitar
stage
sound.
every time.
Yep. We only perform with that thing. Yeah,
That
man.
thing was dead in the water, and Grant brought it back to life.
I would
Yeah, you
prefer
can't
nothing
really-
less than to have Grant use my amp because it's a pleasure and an honor to work with all of you.
Well, I mean, clearly you guys are rock stars and you've got all this time in the world just to strictly only be rock stars. But I mean, I guess there's other things you probably do.
Oh,
Like on top of this.
so I want to be a full-time musician, so I chose that path about a year ago. I quit my teaching job at a guitar center. I used to be a teacher there, and it was like working for a company sort of thing, and it was not good for me. So I decided to just do my own thing. I have my own teaching business, and I just play in 2 bands right now. So I want music to be my full-time job, and I want to perform full-time, but I would say about half the time right now I teach. But I actually love teaching music too, because teaching is, I think, one of my other skills, my other vocations. And I think Ryan can relate to this. You know, we have a gift to teach people how to kick ass and how to rock and roll. So I do that with a handful of students that I'm really close to, and I just teach my favorite students, and then I perform as much as I can. And so yeah, music is my life, it's my job, my career, my vocation. So yeah, so I'm just living the dream, and I'm so thankful for it. And that's me.
And Ryan.
Piggybacking off that, I have always really liked helping kids out too. So I started teaching music lessons and surfing lessons about 20 years ago. It just so happens that I ended up working with a lot of special needs kids. So I recently went back to school to get my teaching credential in special education. And I am now hired at a local high school here in San Diego, teaching special education math.
That's my
Yeah.
boy.
And I'll still do private music and surfing lessons on the side if I got the right clients.
And then Blaze.
Oh,
You're a rock star. What do you do?
I'm a self-funded professional surfer. No, I mean, I try to tailor my schedule around if the surf comes up, I go surfing. And but I have to pay for that some way, somehow. So I gotta have a job. So I work in the day. I was lucky enough to just plow through school early in life and just get out. And I got a bachelor's and a MD, medical doctorate degree early. When I was 25, I was done with all of it. Did like some training after that, and then started working. I've been a doctor forever, and I own my own office, so that's what I do. So usually when you're a doctor, you're a teacher
Usually.
first.
Yeah, you're teaching people how to not kill themselves.
Yeah. And in school they tell you, watch one, do one, teach one. They're talking about procedures. Any procedure, any surgery, any.
Well, we're doing something similar. We're gonna write one, play one, and then slay one.
That's right. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh?
Oh man, that's funny.
Are you recording anything?
The-
Your music?
We got
Oh,
plans to record
right now?
more soon. Yeah, our first album's going to be a live album. Blaze, maybe you want to speak to this. This is somewhat your vision, but we're all on board.
Yeah, so what we did was we hired a professional video crew for the whiskey show, and we also took the sound off the soundboard with that crew. So we played 8 songs, 5 original and 3 covers there. And so we can have a live album live at the Whiskey A Go-Go with maybe a couple of bonus tracks in there from Roxy shows. We play at Roxy's in Encinitas, so we got lots of songs we played there off the mixing board, you know, so we could do that. I just got to get the license on the cover songs, and so that could be one album. And then we just we're halfway through. We come up with another 5 originals as fast as we did. We got a full studio album of live
full-length album,
original songs. So
yeah,
crank out 2 albums: the live one, which pretty much is done, and then a studio album, which we need 5-6 more songs, hopefully.
What timeline are we looking at for this?
We're looking to do that in the next few months, guys, by the way.
By Christmas.
Every song we've done so far that's original has been based on our experiences of stuff that's been going on, that's been fun or cool or whatever, and then we're all excited and we like the riffs and we like the lyrics, and then Ryan's
all relate to
really amazing lyrics guy. I mean, he'll take regular lyrics and just take them to the next level, and it's amazing to have him help with writing these songs, and you know, it's just awesome.
I like that we have our strengths. Like Blaze really likes to come up with the ideas and the bass line and this rhythm structure.
And lyrics and a theme, you know.
And then once he comes up with that idea, then I can kind of run with it and use my poetry communication background to be like, okay, like here's what I feel the song needs to incorporate, even though that like your idea is this, but now it needs to go here also.
Yeah, especially lyrically with the words and the meaning of the song.
When we and then once Grant starts putting his 2 cents in, it's almost like, okay, so now here's where the words need to go because the guitar makes so much sense here. And I think that's the coolest thing that we have about writing together, is that music is this cool interplay between everything and all the forces and of nature that we have all brought to the table. We've all had this unique experience of knowing like that classic rock is rad, and that grunge is good, and that modern music is eh.
Yeah.
And we're trying to realize that
and punk rock is fucking amazing,
cool, and still live in the now, even though sometimes we still have a little bit of a throwback sound. We're still trying to incorporate a little bit of a poppy dancey feel to some of our songs. And I don't know if that's a testament of the times or just trying to say that we're trying to do something outside of our comfort zone, or if we're just trying to like portray ourselves in the development and the evolution of our own musical identities. But there's something to it, because I think we're really good at understanding where music was and is, and now we're just trying to blend the two.
That you want anyone out there to know, what would it be, everyone?
Oh, last thoughts. I just want to say that the secret to life is to love one another as much as you can, as openly as you can, however you can. So as long as you love everyone and love yourself, you're fucking set. My other thought is, if you want to be good at rock and roll, just fucking practice every day and just become obsessed with it, because that's what it takes. It just takes time, nothing else, just time.
We thrive and exist because we have a relationship that is mutual respect. And for that reason, we're able to try everything that anybody comes up with idea-wise, because we know that it's going to make it better if we give each other that time of day to try to work on something. Mm-hmm. Everybody's idea is valid.
Yeah, and trying the different options that we all think of, and giving it the time of day. Yeah, testing it out for sure.
If I come in with a song to these guys, I pretty much tell Ryan, here's the lyrics, dude. Do whatever the heck you want to do, because you're the man. Just do it.
He's the lyric master.
Well, this is what I had in mind, and it's totally open to any improvements, changes, whatever you guys want to do. Let's all do it. And then that really gives everyone incentive to really make it their own.
Yeah, and it's a healthy, creative environment at that point.
Where it's, if I were to go in there and say, this is it, this is what I've written, this is what we're doing, well, that's not healthy, because you're basically not using the talent of these other guys in the band and getting their enthusiasm into the whole thing.
Press.
One other thing I want to say is I'm just so stoked on what this band has done. We've only been together, what, 2 years or a year and a half, 2 years? And we first
In
learned
December,
20 songs.
probably.
Took us 6 months to learn 20, 25 cover songs so that we could actually play a show. And then I got us the Swami's Surf Club Christmas party gig at the Elks Lodge. That was our first gig ever. And then
Yeah.
I kept asking these guys, are we ready? They're all, no, not ready yet. And then finally they're okay, let's do it. And then so we did it. And we've learned like 75 songs in that short amount of time and all these originals that are coming. And that's like, I don't think bands can crank that good.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of these guys. I'm just really proud of this band.
Same here,
Thanks.
man. I'm
Thanks.
stoked on what we've accomplished and excited for what we're going to continue to create together.
Goodbye right now, Santa. Officially goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kat, for having us.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Woo! Cheers. Love you guys. That was fun.
Thanks for having us on, Cat.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I think we answered all the questions.
We're
Yeah.
a family.
That makes the interview.
And then started working. I've been a doctor forever. And I own my own office, so that's what I do.
We might have to have you repeat that in a second so that the audio can be better.
Dr. Blaze in the house.
What do you have to there, guy?
So Blaze
anyway.
is and let me just say, Blaze is a doctor. He is a doctor and he saves people's lives.